Welcome back to Wichita Liberty TV. I'm Bob Weeks. Well, at a time when Wichita City Hall needs to cultivate the trust of citizens, another incident illustrates the entrenched attitude of the city towards its citizens. Despite the proclamations of the mayor and city manager, the city needs a change of attitude towards government transparency and citizens' right to know. Here's what happened. At its May 20th, 2014 meeting, the Wichita City Council considered approval of a sublease by a company named Shannon No. 2, LLC. The subject property is a warehouse in southwest Wichita. It had received subsidy from the city under an economic development program, which is why council approval of the sublease was required. Now, the economics of the lease and its importance to public policy is an important matter. But for now, I'd like to show the attitude of the city towards government transparency and citizen participation. In the agenda packet, that's the detailed and often lengthy supplement to the council meeting agenda, some information regarding the Shannon lease was redacted, as you can see in the accompanying illustration. This piqued my interest, so I asked for the missing details. Now, the agenda packet is often made available Thursday afternoon, although sometimes it is delayed until Friday or even Monday. I sent an email message to the city's Chief Information Officer at 11:16 p.m. Thursday. Yeah, that's right, working late at night for your protection. Well, after the message worked its way through several city departments, I received the information I requested at 5:06 p.m. Monday. Since City Council meetings are Tuesday morning, that left little time for research and contemplation. Well, this isn't the first time citizens have been left with little information and even less time before council meetings. I was involved in an issue in 2008 where there was little time for citizens, and council members too for that matter, to absorb information before a council meeting. About this incident, former Wichita Eagle editorial board editor Randy Brown wrote this in a letter to the Wichita Eagle. He wrote, "I'm fairly well acquainted with Bob Weeks, our extra-conservative government watchdog. It's fair to say that I agree with Weeks no more than one time in every 20 issues. But that one time is crucial to our democracy." Brown wrote, "Weeks is dead on target when he says that conducting the public's business in secret causes citizens to lose respect for government officials and corrupts the process of democracy." He was commenting on my op-ed in the Eagle titled, "TIF Public Hearing Was Bait and Switch." And Brown continued, "That's what happened when significant 11th hour changes to the already controversial and questionable tax increment financing plan for the downtown arena neighborhood were sneaked onto the Wichita City Council's Tuesday agenda, essentially under cover of Monday evening's darkness." He continued, "This may not have been a technical violation of the Kansas Open Meetings Act, but it was an aggravated assault on its spirit. Among other transgressions, we had a mockery of the public hearing process rather than an open and transparent discussion of a contentious public policy issue." Well, that was Randy Brown, the former editor of the Wichita Eagle editorial board. Well, the Wichita officials involved in this matter were council members Jeff Longwell, he represents District 5, West and North Wichita, and Levana Williams, that's District 1, mostly Northeast Wichita. And Longwell's behavior and attitude is part of a pattern, because in another incident in the same year, the Wichita Eagle reported Wichita City Council members and the public got a first look at the contract that could send a $6 million loan to the owners of the Old Town Warren Theater just hours before today's scheduled vote on the matter. And that Eagle article quoted council member Jeff Longwell thusly, "It's unlikely many residents would read the full contract even if it had been made public earlier." That's what Jeff Longwell said. And this attitude, in my experience, is common among Wichita elected officials and bureaucrats. The city, for example, formally lobbies the Kansas legislature opposing any expansion of the Kansas Open Records Act. And you may remember Councilmember Levana Williams from last week's episode of Wichita Liberty TV where she told Wichitans that if they don't like the way the city is spending money, just don't go there, she said. This is an attitude problem. Well, there's another issue. The Shannon item, the approval of the lease, was placed on what's called the consent agenda. This is where items deemed to be non-controversial are voted on in bulk, perhaps 24 or more at a time. Unless a council member asks to have an item pulled for discussion and a possible vote separate from the other consent items, there will be no discussion of any of these issues. Well, in 2012, there was an issue on the consent agenda that I felt deserved discussion. I researched and prepared an article showing how for Wichita's Block 1 garage, the public allocation is now 0 parking spaces. Block 1, you may remember, is the downtown showpiece block between Douglas and William and Broadway and Topeka. The parking garage was built with taxpayer funds and was supposed to offer benefits to the public. But I had found out that the benefit would be less than what Wichitans were led to believe. So at the council meeting, then council member Michael O'Donnell, now in the Kansas Senate, he asked that the item be pulled from the consent agenda and requested that I be able to present my findings to the council. But Mayor Coral Brewer and all 5 other city council members disagreed. They preferred to proceed as though the issue did not exist or was non-controversial. The message, their attitude, was that no time should be spent receiving information on this item. Well, Wichita city officials, including Mayor Coral Brewer, say they are proud of the open and transparent government they have created. But these episodes and others I've described at wichitaliberty.org let everyone know that transparency is dispensed and accountability accepted at the whim of the mayor, city council, and their bureaucratic enablers. Well, why was this information redacted in the first place? And as you can see in the illustration, the city redacted a large chunk of information from the agenda packet that it made available to the public. The city did, after some time, positively respond to my request for the complete document, which begs these questions. Why did the city feel that some information needed to be kept secret? Did council members have access to the redacted information? Did any members of the public besides myself ask for the information? And importantly, how many citizens might have been discouraged from asking for the information by fear of the hassle of asking City Hall for stuff like this? Well, there's also the consideration that the citizens of Wichita are parties to this transaction. How well these incentive programs work and what effect they have on the Wichita economy is an important matter of public policy. Without relatively complete information, citizens are not in a position to make judgments. There's also the matter of cost. Often, council members and bureaucrats complain that providing information to citizens is a financial burden to the city. But in this case, I'm sure the city would have been dollars ahead if it had simply published the complete lease in the agenda packet. My request bounced around several city offices, 3 that I know of, and I imagine that each handling of my request added to the cost. Well, the city of Wichita is proud to be an open and transparent government agency, its officials say. Wichita Mayor Coral Brewer often speaks in favor of government transparency. For example, in his State of the City address for 2011, he listed as an important goal for the city this, "And we must provide transparency in all that we do," he said. And when the city received an award for transparency in 2013, a city news release quoted Wichita City Manager Robert Layton as saying, "The City Council has stressed the importance of transparency for this organization. We're honored to receive a Sunny Award, and we will continue to empower and engage citizens by providing information necessary to keep them informed on the actions their government is taking on their behalf." Well, the incidents I've described above, when combined with others, demonstrate that it's easy for officials to say they value transparency and accountability. The actual delivery of that, however, is difficult for our current leaders. Despite the proclamations of the mayor and the city manager, the city needs a change of attitude towards government transparency. The incident described in this article is just one more example of a divergence between the proclamations of city officials and their actual acts. It's an attitude problem, and all City Hall has to do is get a new attitude.